this event, this session is being recorded and will be available on our site in a few days. So I'm going to turn it over to our presenters and have a great session, guys.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, let me get my screen shared here so that we can get situated and ready to go. Okay. All right, hopefully everybody can see that. Yes, no, maybe so?
Yes.
All right, I was going to say, I need you guys to say something. Otherwise, I don't know for sure. I see it on my screen, if nothing else. But all right, so we can just start with a couple of introductions here for those of us who are from Gannon. So I'm Nathaniel Ropsky, admissions counselor here. I'll be one of the people leading the discussion. My co-presenter here is Nathan. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Nathan Guyon. Again, one of the admissions counselors at Gannon, so nice to meet everyone. Miles Vita is the counselor from Gannon as well. Miles will be running the chat for us to help us out there while me and Nathaniel present. So if you have questions at any time, please feel free to let us know. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions. We're going to go over this presentation, talk a little bit about Gannon, who we are, our university as a whole. We'll mention kind of everything you could ever know about Gannon, from admissions process, who we are, financial aid, kind of some buildings on campus, and we'll touch on some student life stuff as well. So any questions at any time, please let us know. But other than that, welcome everyone. So I always like to start with who Gannon is, because I think it's a good foundation of everything. Gannon is four main things: small, private, Catholic, urban. So the small side of things, as you can tell by the stats there, small university, about 3,400 undergraduate, about 1,000 graduate students there on campus. So you're going to get small classes. You're going to have small aspect of a small university. We're a private university, we're a Catholic university. What that means for our students as a Catholic university is you are required to take theology, you are required to take philosophy on campus. Outside of that, there's really no other requirements. You don't have to go to Mass, you don't have to do service hours or anything of that nature. But we do have that spiritual backing as a university, in that sense that that's something that's promoted on campus, something that you'll definitely see. Mission and ministry is very, very active, and so is our service organizations are very active on campus as well. So definitely something that is very big on campus, I guess you could call it. We'll go to the next slide, Nathaniel. And then the last fourth describing word is urban. So as you can tell by this little map area, we're right up on Lake Erie. In Erie, Pennsylvania is where Gannon is, and we are right downtown. We are as downtown the city of Erie as you're going to get. Now, the city of Erie only has about 100,000 residents, so you're not looking at massive skyscrapers or anything of that nature that you might get in downtown Pittsburgh or downtown Philly, but we still have a city, which I think is something that's really nice. Gannon has about, you might think, okay, downtown, does that mean I have to get on a shuttle and to go to class every day? Because that's may not be something I want to do. That's not at all how Gannon is. Gannon does have a campus. And I'll kind of mention some of the buildings as we get through here of our campus. But basically, our campus is broken off into about 6 or 7 blocks north-south and about 2 or 3 blocks east and west. So basically, everything's within a 15-minute walk of anything else on campus. For the furthest walk you're going to have might be 15 to 20 minutes. So you're not looking at a massive distance in between areas, and you still have that campus feel and have that community feel, which I think is something that really kind of is nice about our campus. And even though we are urban, you can go downtown, you can use all the stuff that downtown Erie has to offer when it comes to internships and outside recreational activities. But we still have that campus feel. When you're walking around campus, you feel like you're on Gannon's campus. You feel like you're on a college campus. You don't feel like you're downtown, which I think is something that's really, really cool about our campus. We can go to the next slide here, Nathaniel. So as you can see, a lot of opportunities to do Recreational stuff outside of our campus. If you go about down the street about 4 blocks, you're going to run right into Lake Erie. So anything that the lake has to offer, we have a peninsula that goes out into Lake. Presque Isle has all the beaches and all that fun stuff on it. But like I mentioned before, there's a lot of internship opportunities on campus, right next to campus. So the main internship opportunities that we have really good connections with are the lake, obviously, for any of our science programs. We have a Environaut, which is used for our freshwater biology and program, as well as any of our environmental engineering, environmental science. They do a lot of stuff out on the lake and out on Presque Isle, which is really cool. Health science programs, you have UPMC Hammett right next door to campus, basically. It's kind of a stone's throw away, as I like to say. So right next door to campus, so UPMC Hammett, that's the main hospital in downtown. They have all their outpatient care facilities right in the area, which is really awesome. Our business building, the Center for Business Ingenuity, as we call it, is located directly in our business area, commercial district of Erie, which is really cool too, because that means you have good connections with all the business programs around the area, including Erie Insurance. Erie Insurance Group has their own campus, as I like to call it, right across about 4 or 5 blocks from our campus, and they're a Fortune 500 company that we do a lot of work with in our business field, which is something that you're gonna get internships with them, obviously, because you are downtown, which is really, really nice. So like I mentioned, I kind of wanted to point out some of the buildings on campus, because I think seeing something of our campus kind of gives that feel of more, even if you're not on campus right now, you can kind of tell what you're going to do. So Zurn Science Center and Center for Advanced Engineering obviously houses our engineering programs and our science programs on campus. So that's where all of our labs are. We have a wet human cadaver lab on campus, as opposed to a dry human cadaver lab on campus, which I think is something cool. So a lot of our science programs that take that class, that's something that kind of sets us apart, especially in our Zurn Science Center. We also have the next building right next door, the Murawski Academic Center. So the Murawski Academic Center houses all of our health professions programs, a lot of those upper level courses that you'll take in those programs, including labs for OT, PT, nursing. There's a patient simulation lab in our Murawski Academic Center. So any of that lab work, any of those high level health science programs that you want to get into, that's where those are located. So pretty cool building on campus. Palumbo and AJ Palumbo Academic Center, or just Palumbo for short, is another building that houses most of our humanities programs on campus. So we do have a very large humanities program, set of programs, your English, your education, your psychology, sociology, those type of courses. Our religious courses are also, most of them are located in there. We have a student success center that works helping students to make sure you're successful in the classroom, obviously. So that's something that we really push on campus and that you'll be able to take advantage of in Palumbo. And then our bookstore is also in Palumbo. That's the place that everyone likes to get the Gannon swag from. So definitely a place on campus that students like to go to. So Center for Communication and the Arts actually just expanded recently. They bought a second building just across the street from the main building, and what it houses are communications programs, our fine arts programs. We do have the second building that was just purchased was done to have an art gallery, which is something that's really neat. So that's right across the street from our main communications building. We also do have a nationally recognized and award-winning radio station, WERG Radio, that's in the Center for Communication and the Arts, that a lot of students take advantage of, and they have won some big awards for. So I think that's something that's neat, that if you're interested in any of those programs, that's something that you'll definitely take advantage of on campus. Like I was mentioning, our Center for Business Ingenuity is located right in kind of our business area, business district of Erie. It does house 2 outside corporations or outside community organizations that are in the Erie area, that are housed in our business building. They're the Small Business Development Center and the Erie Technology Incubator. Basically what they do are help to grow small businesses in the local Erie community. So the nice part about them is if somebody is trying to be an entrepreneur and grow something in the Erie area, you'll see people take advantage of those spaces. And so our business students will be able to work with them, either helping with projects they have done or things of that nature. And obviously, as you can kind of think, the Erie Technology Incubator works with technology corporations, things in engineering to tech to whole wide range of things that they work with, but mainly in that technology sector. And then two more buildings that I think are pretty important to the students that use them. So definitely the Forensic Investigation Center, or the FIC House for short, as we call it, is for any of our criminal justice students. We kind of designed it in a way to make it really, really neat. So there's a mock crime stage area in the basement. So basically they can make a crime scene, which I think is cool. There's an interrogation room in this building. There's a firearms simulator also in the basement. There's a DNA/forensics lab in the upstairs. There's also a Mark courtroom in the FIC house. So that's a lot of stuff that students will have classes in there, will be able to do projects in there that are in those criminal justice programs to kind of get that hands-on experience. So sometimes with criminal justice, not really allowed to go into a crime scene or things of that nature sometimes. So it's nice to be able to create something and have actual hands-on experience in a setting that is controlled, that you can make those determinations. So I think it's something that's really neat. The Nash Library also, every student will take advantage of when they're on campus, because it is the library, obviously. In the library, there is, like it says there, almost basically brand new. I'm only a couple years removed from our complete renovation of the library. It has all your normal circulating books and periodicals and all that stuff, research materials. But there's a lot of study spaces in the library too. In the basement, there's a lot of group study areas with computer labs. In the basement, there's also a writing center. So if you need help writing papers and things of that nature, that can be located in the library, in the basement. As you get higher in the library, there's actually quieter spaces. So if you get into the top floor of the library, there's a lot of single spaces that you're expected to be quiet, to have that study area for students. If they don't want to be in their room, but they want to get peace and quiet while they're studying for an exam, a really hard exam or things of that nature, they're able to do that, which I think is awesome. In the main floor of the library, there's also a coffee shop that serves Starbucks coffee as well as some grab and go items. So that's something that's a lot of students will take advantage of. They'll walk through the library, grab a coffee, go to class. So you'll definitely see that used in the library, definitely. So academic programs on campus. So we do have a wide range of academic programs. Some of the main things that we really have, some of our most competitive programs, I guess you could call it, are definitely in the health science field. We have a 5-year physician's assistant program. We have an accelerated physical therapy program, an accelerated occupational therapy program. So a good range of those. We have a business MBA program. That's an accelerated 5-year program with a business undergrad and master's. We have 6 or 7 different engineering programs. I always get the number confused because it seems like we're always adding new ones. Just recently, we did add 2 new programs that are very popular in the area. That is cyber engineering and cyber security. Those are our 2 newest programs on campus. We are building a building that's going to be done here in a little bit called the IHAC building to house those programs, which I think is really awesome. And then we have a full range of humanities programs as well. So you can go into basically any type of humanities program that you're interested in. Like I said before, criminal justice, education, any of English, math, science. Basically, if you can think of it, we probably have it on campus because we have a good range of things. Being a small university too, you're gonna have small classes. You probably won't really have a class bigger than 30, 35 students on campus. We really don't have a need for it just because of how small your coursework is going to be. Student to faculty ratio, you can kind of see that there, nice small numbers there. Any program you're interested in on campus, whenever when you have your major, you will have an advisor from that major. So you're not gonna have an advisor that's, if you're a PT student, you're not gonna have an advisor that's a education professor. Doesn't make sense for that. So you're going to have an advisor that is from that PT program if that's what you're in, or whatever program you're interested in. So that's definitely something that we like to have, that face-to-face contact, to try to talk to somebody that is in that field so they know, hey, this is what I'm interested in. How do I get there? Which I think is something that's really important, because they're going to have connections. You're going to make connections while you're in undergrad. So having that person to be kind of your liaison in your academic field, I think we have shown it's been very successful for our students and allowed our students to really succeed. Almost all programs on campus, you're going to have an internship, you're going to have some sort of clinical, going to have patient care hours, all of that as a requirement, as part of your program. So we want to make sure students are doing hands-on work. We want to make sure students are in the lab or outside in the community doing hands-on work. And that's definitely something that you'll get on campus because of the small classes, because you're going to know your professors. They're going to know what you want to do. You're going to be able to tell them. You're going to be able to go out and do make connections with people that they know. So definitely something that you'll see on campus. So application process has actually just started. So it's really, really nice. Gannon is a rolling admissions institution. We have a number of ways to apply as well. We want to make it as simple for you as possible. We are accepting our application either through our own application on our website. You can print out our application and send it in if you want, or the majority of students will use the common application. You can apply to whatever program that you're interested in. You don't have to apply to a specific, like an undecided or anything of that nature, unless you want to do that. You're more than able to do that, but you can apply to specific programs. Each program will have their own requirements when it comes to things. But this year, definitely the main requirements and things that we're looking for the majority of classes on programs on campus is majority 3.0 GPA. Some are higher, some are lower. Majority of sciences will be a little bit higher. Majority of the other program and engineering will probably be around the same. And then the majority of other programs will be a little bit lower for GPA requirements. But a 3.0 is a good thing to shoot for. We have made ACT and SATs optional for almost all programs on campus. There is one or two programs that are early accepted doctorate programs in our that are connections with like LECOM and some of our med school connections that do still require that ACT or SAT. But for almost the 98% of our programs are test optional this year. So we would just need a transcript from your high school. There is certain programs that will be requiring a letter of recommendation or an essay, depending on what program it is. Good example is our physician's assistant program. Nathaniel, if you want to go to the next slide here, that kind of leads right into something. So our physician's assistant program, it is our most competitive program. So that does have a November 15th deadline. They do require a letter of recommendation from a science teacher. They do require an essay. So there is a number of extra requirements that are for that program, but the majority of our programs won't require anything additional. And also, like I said, our rolling admissions. So they don't have any specific dates for admittance or application or anything of that nature. Outside of that PA program, which does have a November 15th deadline, as well as there is an interview that must take place for that. When we're looking for any dual enrollment or AP credits, the good rule of thumb for those AP credits, any of those AP tests that you take, we will accept a 3 or better for the actual test. And then for our outside of 2 programs, so calculus and biology, those tend to be a little weird depending on what major you're interested in, just based on the accrediting bodies. Usually they want you to take those classes in college, but a 4 or better is what we give out for the most part. For most of our programs will be accepted that, but that is up to per program for calculus and biology, just because some you have to take on campus here at Gannon. And then dual enrollment credits, we will accept dual enrollment. We will accept high school in college and high school credits, those kind of things, usually a B or higher. And some may take a C as well, but usually a B or higher is what we'll accept those. So, yep. So our campus is actually open for visit opportunities. We do have in-person visits available. So definitely the one main one coming up is open house. That will be actually virtual, not in person, but open house is coming up. And then we do have missions appointments every day in person, and then also on select Saturdays. And then there is other high school visits that we'll do virtual between counselors. But yeah. Nathaniel, all you.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan. Now we get to part 2 of the Nathan and Nathaniel show here. So to dovetail a little bit on what Nathan had already mentioned here about visit opportunities, the thing that I would recommend for folks this year is that even though a lot of the stuff that everybody is doing right now is way more virtually centered, there are options both on and off campus for you. So, we are open for in-person visits. There are just less options available. We're not allowing people to come in directly for walk-ins. You will have to look ahead of time and sign up and kind of follow the requirements that way, just due to what's going on around us in the world today. But what we like to say is that even with all of these kind of stipulations and all these kind of extra precautions in place, there are still a lot of opportunities to visit campus both virtually and in person and really get that information that way. So obviously you're doing one of the great ones here. You're at one of these sessions through PACAC, but just knowing that a lot of these other things are at your fingertips, both in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, and kind of all times in between. There are a lot of great opportunities to do that. And all you really need to do to find most of those opportunities and get kind of a deeper dive into the information that all of them might have for you is just by going to our visit page through the admissions website. You'll be able to look up more information on those visits, both virtual and in person, learn more about your programs, do a deeper dive into things with faculty members, all those kind of good things that will kind of help you make that decision moving forward as you move along here in the college search process. And of course, kind of removed from Gannon specifically, we are still prioritizing those high school visits and college fairs, virtually right now. But as soon as we are able to kind of, get the go ahead and, move forward with those in person, once that starts to get normalized again, for my juniors out there that are listening, we will definitely be doing that for you guys as well. So, be on the lookout for those and, do as much as you can with those visit opportunities because they really are, great resources at your fingertips here. But as we pivot here to some of the things that I will talk through. So first of all, I'm going to kind of give us more of a breakdown of kind of both the costs and the scholarships associated with Gannon here. So nothing too crazy that you got to get your calculator out for. Just some kind of numbers to be aware of for the university and what they may look like for you as a student who would come to Gannon proper. So the big number that you want to be aware of down there on the slide is just the bottom, the total number that is all inclusive of those tuitions, fees, room and board, meal plan, all that sort of stuff. But you can see that there is a range associated with those because they may vary a little bit by program. Some programs have more fees associated with them. They'll vary by the size of meal plan that you may get on campus. They'll vary by the dorming options that you utilize, whether you live off or on campus. So of course, some of these numbers for you may be a little bit different, but on average, what we usually like to tell folks is that the overall cost that you tend to see if you look online or if you see us here in the PowerPoint here just tends to be about around 50,000 or so. But that's a perfect segue for us to then say, don't let that 50,000 number scare you, because that's not a number that anybody pays. The vast majority of folks usually end up paying something in the low 20s overall. We don't tend to say, hey, you'll pay 21,000 because you never know. It is on a range. It could vary, But usually, what we do at least like to let you know is that we don't want that number to be, the big scary 50,000 number, because usually folks are able to get into a more reasonable range that way. So how do we get to that lower number? The vast majority of that comes from in-house scholarships, awards and grants and other things that you as a student have at your disposal there. So the main way in which we bring those costs down comes from merit-based awards. So those are all offered to you at the time that you were accepted into your program. So no matter who you are, no matter where you are as an academic achiever, if you get into a program, you're getting that merit-based aid. And it follows that scale that you see on the slide there, but it is broken up in increments of thousands. So 14, 15, 16, et cetera. And you'll know that number right when you get accepted into your program there. So that kind of forms the backbone of your initial merit-based scholarship package. And then from there, kind of other supplemental scholarships will also help bring down the costs there. So you can look on our financial aid website for a more comprehensive list of those scholarships and what they might look like for you, but there are a lot of different options at your fingertips that you can definitely be aware of. But the only other thing within kind of scholarships right now and paying for school and all these other things just to be aware of is that if you would like to qualify for student loans, which of course wouldn't we all like to get a little bit of money from the federal government to help pay for our schooling, the FAFSA itself is how you do that, and those go online starting October 1st. So they literally just came online earlier this week. So if you are a senior this year, make sure that you're doing the FAFSA and indicating that you are going to send them off to the universities that you are interested in. So that way everybody is communicating with each other and we can kind of help come to a better consensus about what your overall financial aid package might look like from the university there. But that's enough of kind of the number discussion. That's at least the quick view of, I always like to say it's the, here's what it looks like online, here's probably what you'll pay, and kind of here's how we get there. And that's all I get into when it comes to numbers, at least. But, talking through a little bit more of like the campus life side of things, what does Gannon have to offer you kind of in-house that you'll be seeing, day in, day out? This is always a good question that potential students have. What do my first year residence halls look like? Where am I going to be living on campus, and what does that mean for me? So for all of our students who are living on campus their freshman year, there are two different types of housings options that they could utilize. So Finnegan Hall there on the right is your more, we call it traditional style housing. So if you have ever watched a movie about college, that's what it looks like. It's kind of the dorm style, it's the bathroom at the end of the hall, costs a little bit less, so that kind of brings us back to that, cost breakdown there. Costs you a little bit less overall, you get a little bit less by way of amenities, but it's a more affordable kind of traditional housing option there that a lot of our students utilize. You can contrast that with North Hall, so it's more of a suite style housing, so it is a newer building. You do get your own personal space, your own personal room to sleep in. You got a little kitchenette, you got a little bathroom. So, a little bit more by way of amenities, a little bit more by way of cost as well, but different options because different strokes for different folks. So, whatever you are looking for, we have that. Now, as Nathan kind of mentioned earlier, the fact that we are an urban campus means that both of these resident halls are basically located, right smack dab in the middle of campus. So you are not, you're never going to be walking anywhere far away from your classes or from the CAF or from the gym or the library or anything like that. So, those resident options are kind of the mainstays for our freshmen here. Other things and other kind of good questions that we tend to get from students in these sorts of presentations deal with, what are the opportunities that I have kind of outside the classroom in terms of like study abroad or service trips or things like that. So we do have those great options available for students. The study abroad or learning abroad opportunities, as we call them, they tend to vary a lot by program and tend to vary a lot by what you may be wanting to get out of a study abroad experience. But there are a lot of different options for timing as well. So there are some that are more traditional, like you would go to Paris for a semester, so to speak. But there are also year-long options, summer options, even options that happen over the course of just a spring or a fall break. So as an example, I was a student here once, and I was able to do a semester-long option in Greece, and was also able to do an alternative service trip and to go help rebuild after a hurricane. So there are good options available that way there, but we do send you out to some partner universities all around the world, do faculty-led programs, kind of other great options to get you out of your comfort zone, get you to a cool place, learning the history, learning the culture there. There are also, as I was kind of alluding to, there are service trips that we tend to do as well. So as a Catholic university, a lot of the way that we kind of live into that is through the service opportunities that we have both on and off campus. And, you know, a lot of what we tend to do when we go out into the Erie community, the world community as Gannon students and as a Gannon family is to just, you know, go and do good work. So we do have a lot of options for learning abroad as well that do kind of take you down more of a service-oriented route as well. So a lot of nice options that way. Another good thing to mention here is just kind of the clubs and organizations that we do have on campus. Not going to go through a litany of lists here, but essentially know that there are a lot at your fingertips. So over 120 active clubs and organizations. You can look up the list yourself online if you are interested to see if we've got one that piques your interest. But what I will say is, if we don't, all it takes is 5 people to start a club. You get 5 friends who are interested in doing something, and usually it's pretty easy to get those things situated. But, you know, at least as by way of overview, we do have a lot of those normal options that you would expect. So we have Greek letter organizations, academic organizations, honors societies and clubs, student government, commuter life, all of those sort of biggies that you would expect that way as well. Some are more major specific, others are, open to everybody, basically. Athletics-wise, we are a Division II school, so we have 22 different Division II varsity sports on campus here. So we are in the PACAC conference, that's Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference here. As far as the recruitment process is concerned, that can tend to vary a little bit by sport, but usually if you end up having a conversation with one of us the enrollment advisors or admissions counselors, either term we use for ourselves. If you happen to talk with one of us, we can get you in touch with the coaches, but most of the coaching staff are very open to hearing from you guys. You know, recruit yourself a little bit is what I like to tell folks. So, with those sports, we tend to have a pretty wide option, wide range of different sports as well. I know that for some folks coming from farther away outside of kind of our market area, so to speak, we do tend to have some lesser known sports that tend to be big draws. So things like women's wrestling, competitive cheer, competitive dance team, as well as kind of all of the biggies that you would expect. So your baseballs, your basketballs, your footballs, your golfs, everything kind of in between. But if we do not happen to have one of those as a varsity sport, there are a pretty wide range of club and intramural sports as well that can be kind of a good way to kind of still keep active, still keep doing the sport that you loved in high school, but having it be kind of less of a time constraint to you in college if that's kind of the route you want to go down that way. Last thing to kind of mention here before we end and kind of open it up to a broader discussion, if folks have questions, is just to mention as kind of an important addition to the athletic talk is we do have on campus our own gym. We call it the Recreation and Wellness Center, or the REC for short. You can see a nice picture of the field house. I was actually just there earlier today getting my flu shot, so my arm is already starting to get a little bit sore here, but that's okay. But in the same way that Nathan kind of mentioned all of these nice new buildings that we have on campus, like the National Library, recently modernized, like the FIC, a recent purchase and modernization there. The rec itself has been modernized within the past decade as well, and just brings in a lot of nice options both for academics, including human performance lab for my PTs, my sports and exercise science, my athletic trainers out there, but also good group fitness classes, just the gym, everything that you could possibly want. Our third presenter here, Miles, who is manning the chat, maybe some of you have asked him a question here or there. He is a gym rat and can often be found in our rec center himself there. So, look to him if you end up coming to campus that way. But as we do end up here, let me just go to the last slide. There you go. See, there's Miles smiling. As we go to the last slide here, we just have the contact information for what I was saying, kind of the Nathan and Nathaniel show here. As we kind of end up and open it up to a broader discussion, if folks do have questions, Miles will help kind of siphon those our way. But as we do end up here, what we just want to mention as kind of a point to the end of this discussion here is that we're here to help. That is our job. We are here to make the process easier. We are here to disseminate all that information for you. I know we threw a lot of info at you for the last half an hour, and I'm sure a lot of schools are doing the same thing. So it is our job to make this stuff easier, and it is our job to really help you through the process. And, you know, if Gannon is the place for you, that's awesome. That is what we are here to do, both Nathan and I, and Miles, and anybody else in between. So, you know, if it's an email, if it's a call, if it's a text, if it's anything in between, we are happy to be here and happy to help in any way we can. So with that, Miles, do you have anything you want to throw to the group? Any questions that you think might be beneficial for us to answer?
Yeah, great job, fellas. I thought you did a lot of information there in a very nice, neat, orderly fashion. But we did have a question that came in regarding food service. So I'm going to focus that one maybe to Nathaniel. What are some options to eat on campus?
Sure. So yeah, as far as food service is concerned, the vast majority of folks will utilize a meal plan. That is something that we require for folks in their first year, if nothing else. The meal plan itself does have multiple different tiers to it. So you can either opt for more food if you are someone like me who likes to eat a lot, or less food. We generally refer to those as swipes. So that is the amount of meals that are given to you over the course of a semester there. So that is where the vast majority of folks tend to get their food options from. Now there are other cafes and smaller, you know, mini take and go restaurants and things like that that do exist all across campus. So the vast majority of those buildings that Nathan had mentioned earlier do house all of those, or not all of those, I should say, but do house different options that way. So, you know, North Hall, as an example, has a nice little takeout place to get sandwiches right in the first floor. Or Murawski has a nice little cafe where a lot of the health science folks tend to eat their lunches there as well. So a lot of nice different options that are on campus, but you know, if you happen to want to go off campus as well, that's one of the nice things about being downtown. We are right smack dab in the middle of all of Erie's great restaurants, and you have no lack of food to eat there as well, which is really nice.
Perfect. I think this question is for Nathan. Nathan, one of the students here would like to know a little bit more about support services. Does Gannon offer any tutoring or academic support?
Yeah, so like I was mentioning earlier in Palumbo, there's a office called Student Success, and they kind of do everything, a little mix of everything. So they have student support for academics when it comes to tutoring, when it comes to helping with that kind of stuff. If you need help in classes, they kind of work with you with that. They also work with the Writing Center in the basement of Nash to help write papers, and if you need help with research and all that stuff. But they also do have students, Success also has a career development area to help if you need help finding internships, need help with resumes, need help with all of that stuff, because you're going to college. The main goal of going to college is to make sure you have a job when you graduate. So every program, that's their goal. So we have that availability, that support staff in Student Success that is there to make sure that you are succeeding. It's literally in their name, Student Success. So definitely there is support for that on all levels. And then if any student has any test anxiety or a disability of some sort, Student Success also works with those students to make sure that they're succeeding in the classroom. So then they get the help they need. So they work with our health and wellness department or office, and work with those students to make sure that they are getting, if they need additional test time, if they need additional, like a test center or things of that nature. Student Success also works with those students as well, to make sure that they're succeeding just as much as a student that doesn't have that disability. So we want to make sure that all students are supported on all levels, no matter what. And that's definitely what their main goal is. And Student Success's main goal is never going to ask questions. They're just going to be like, hey, you need help with something? We're here to help. And the main thing, what I always tell students is, doesn't matter if you have a 4.0 now and you go to college and you're not doing too hot. Use Student Success. Doesn't matter if you have a 4.0 in college. Use Student Success. Go and ask for help, because they're here to help, and all of us on campus, especially at Gannon, are here to help. So, but we can't help you if we don't know that you need it. So that's the one main thing I always like, the advice that I always give to students. We're here to help. ask us for it, and we're going to help you through that whole process.
I concur. The only dumb question is the one that's not asked. So we've got one more question here. I'd like to kind of maybe flip that back to Nathaniel with relation to safety on campus. Maybe if you would like to talk a little bit about our police and safety office.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm looking here at our timing here. So we got a couple more minutes here. So hopefully none of us get kicked mid-sentence here, but just, anybody who's listening here, just be aware that we got our kind of hard 45 here. So if I just go disappear, that may be why, but we still got a couple minutes. So yeah, safety-wise, there's kind of a two-pronged discussion that I like to talk about here. One of them is kind of the eyeball test, and the other one is kind of the numeric side of things. So, we do have our own campus police and safety office on campus. They basically operate as our own security force. So, you see them out on patrols, they come into the buildings, they are just here to make sure that everybody feels safe, given that we are in a downtown urban setting. And so that is a nice kind of peace of mind that I think is offered to a lot of students that way, and to their families, knowing that those operations are right on campus. Now, beyond that, naturally, we do have a lot of the other safety precautions that any campus would take. So there are, the call boxes nearby. There are shuttling services for folks if they want to, if they don't feel comfortable walking, a certain part of campus at a certain time of day. Usually we don't run into many issues with folks. We are actually pretty lucky to be pretty insulated here on campus. And to me, that is kind of what number one is, that eyeball test. So not only do we have those security forces ourselves, do we have campus police and safety, but since we are downtown, we're actually located basically right next door to both the legal community and the law enforcement community in the Erie area. So it's something that I always like to mention to families and students who come on campus. I say, look out the window. You got the cops right there, which is super nice. So I think that tends to give us a nice little insulated bubble in a lot of ways. So that's at least kind of the eyeball test of things. But the more numbers-driven answer is that every single year, every university does have to release their own basically police and safety report that is available to anybody who wants to look at them. And if you do happen to look at Gannon, you'll see that when it comes to metrics across the board, anything involving any sort of crimes, Gannon is above average in that sense. So lower when it comes to rates, above average in the sense that we do a pretty good job of keeping people safe and giving people that nice peace of mind, especially for a school that does happen to be downtown in a more urbanized setting there. So what I always like to say for folks, and Nathan had his here's my advice, so here's my advice as well, is that we want you to feel safe walking around at any time of day. Walk around at 3 in the afternoon, you should be good. Maybe don't walk around at 3 a.m. That's the only thing we'll say. But if you're doing stuff kind of day in, day out, morning, noon, and night, you're pretty nicely insulated here on the Gannon campus, which we really do love.
Fellas, thank you so much. I think we are kind of wrapping up out of time. And on behalf of Nathan and Nathaniel and myself, we'd like to thank those who have joined us here live as a part of the PACAC Strive Scan session. For those of you that are watching on the archive, please utilize the contact information that's on the screen. Text us, email us, Facebook, social media, any way to get at us here. We are here to help, and we are the faces of transformation, and we want to help you make who you are and going to be a reality. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys very much for that presentation. Just a quick little follow-up piece. After you close your screen, you will see a quick survey. Please take a moment to do that and continue signing up for additional sessions, college info panels. There's tons of information through the next month. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you found this very informational and the great work by our presenters, guys. All have a great afternoon and enjoy yourselves.